Well, hello everyone, and for those of you who do not know me, I'm Karen Ann Harlos, a super hardcore libertarian, and I found out with interest that on TikTok and other social media platforms, particularly amongst the left, that all of a sudden the letter from Osama bin Laden that happened after the 9/11 attacks is trending, and these young leftists are discovering it and finding out some things that libertarians have been saying for a long time. Now, obviously, this is a letter from a monster, a murderous monster, but that doesn't mean everything he said was incorrect. And it asked a fundamental question, or answered a fundamental question of why did this happen? And our government told us it happened because they hate us for our freedom. And I don't care for the direction that some leftists are taking this in, but I am thrilled as a libertarian that the question is getting answered again, because it didn't happen because they hate us for our freedom, and we've only become less free. But what I wanted to talk to you guys about is a letter that was put out by a libertarian the day after the attacks, which took a lot of guts and was not politically popular. And this letter was from our 1996 and 2000 presidential candidate, Harry Browne, who was just a brilliant libertarian communicator. And the name of his column, or letter, as we'll call it, was When Will We Learn? And if you're so interested in the letter to America from a murderous monster, maybe you'll listen to something that was written by an American libertarian. And maybe you'll start to pay a bit more attention to the foreign policy ideas we've had for decades now, because the way this country is behaving and in that arena, it's not working. It wasn't working then, and he was a prophet in this letter. So I'm going to read it to you, and I do hope you will take it to heart. When will we learn? The terrorist attacks against America comprise a horrible tragedy, but they shouldn't be a surprise. It is well known that in war, the first casualty is truth, that during any war, truth is forsaken for propaganda. But sanity was a prior casualty. It was the loss of sanity that led to war in the first place. Our foreign policy has been insane for decades. It was only a matter of time until Americans would have to suffer personally for it. It is a tragedy of life, or terrible tragedy of life, that the innocent so often have to suffer for the sins of the guilty. When will we learn that we can't allow our politicians to bully the world without someone bullying back eventually? President Bush has authorized continued bombing of innocent people in Iraq. President Clinton bombed innocent people in the Sudan, Afghanistan, Iraq, and Serbia. President Bush Sr. invaded Iraq and Panama. President Reagan bombed innocent people in Libya and invaded Grenada. And on it goes. Did we think that the people who lost their families and friends and property and all that destruction would love America for what happened? When will we learn that violence always begets violence? Supposedly, Reagan bombed Libya to teach Muammar al-Gaddafi a lesson about terrorism. But shortly thereafter, a Pan Am plane was destroyed over Scotland, and our government tried to convince the world it was the Libyans that did it. When will we learn that teaching someone a lesson never teaches anything but resentment, that it only inspires the recipient to greater acts of defiance? How many times on Tuesday did we hear someone describe the terrorist attacks as cowardly acts? As misguided and despicable as they were anything but cowardly. The people who committed them knowingly gave their lives for whatever stupid beliefs they held. But what about the American presidents who order bombings of innocent people while the presidents remain completely insulated from any damage? What would you call their acts? When will we learn that forsaking truth and reason in the heat of battle almost always assures that we will lose the battle. And now, as sure as night follows day, we will be told we must give up more of our freedoms to avenge what never should have happened in the first place. When will we learn that it makes no sense to give up our freedoms in the name of freedom? So what should be done? First, stop the hysteria. Stand back and ask how this could have happened. Ask how a prosperous country, isolated by two oceans, could have so embroiled itself in other people's business that someone would want to do us harm. Even sitting in the middle of Europe, Switzerland isn't beset by terrorist attacks because the Swiss mind their own business. Second, resolve that we won't let our leaders use this occasion to commit their own terrorist acts upon more innocent people, foreign and domestic, that will inspire more terrorist attacks in the future. Third, find a way with enforceable constitutional limits to prevent our leaders from ever again provoking this kind of anger against America. There are those who will say this article is unpatriotic and un-American, that this is now not a time to question our country or our leaders. When will we learn that without freedom and sanity, there is no reason to be patriotic? That took bravery to say. So I hope you take that to heart, and I look forward to talking to you more soon. Follow me for more libertarian content.